Hi, I'm Brian Dubuque. I live in Missoula, Montana, and I'm just a regular outdoorsy dude, like backpacking, playing in the mountains as much as possible, but there's nothing better than rock climbing. I've been climbing for about 4.5 years now. I've always been an avid backpacker, and one day a friend, told me or asked me if I wanted to go rock climbing, so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try it. You get a little bit of everything. You hike up to a cool destination, but then you get to climb these awesome rocks, and the second I was out there, it was just a pure adrenaline rush, and there was no turning back. The best part about rock climbing is, it sounds weird, but falling. I mean, the rope's gonna catch you. But once you push yourself and you don't know that you're gonna come off the wall, and you fall, you take a 25-foot whipper and the rope catches you, that weightlessness is just, it's such a good feeling. And then the second the rope catches you, you just get pumped full of adrenaline, and then you're always scared, but the second you're caught, it's just the best feeling ever. It's a constant struggle with overcoming that fear of heights, and that's actually what keeps it really interesting. Every time you go, it seems like something epic happens. It's just, you forget a piece of gear, your belayer, your rock climb part gets tired and you get stuck on a wall forever. I mean, or you'll be at like 200 feet up in the air on this big ledge, and then a thunderstorm comes through and you end up having to climb 200 feet out on like slippery rock. Yeah, I actually took a little bit of a tumble last summer. I was climbing on what is actually really routine pitch, or a routine climb for me. I had climbed with someone that I've never climbed with before. Like individually, we're both really experienced rock climbers, but we had never climbed together before. It ended up being like my 7th climb of the day and like his 6th climb of the day. We were just really tired. But at the end of this particular climb, we weren't on the same page. I told him that I wanted to rappel down, which means he didn't need to keep me on the rope once I got to the top. And then when I got to the top of it, I changed my mind and I wanted to be lowered down by him. So I called down to him to ask him if he could put me back on the rope, and he said yeah, and it took him a couple minutes to do it. And when I looked down, it looked like he had me, so I asked him, am I on belay? And he said yes, when he actually didn't have me. So when I unclipped from the chains at the top, the weight of my body pulled the rope through, and I came tumbling down. I landed on my feet. My legs didn't break, but they bent up, and I hit my lower back and butt really hard. And that trauma, that extreme trauma, is so painful. It's hard to describe. Like when your body goes through that much pain, you actually don't really think about it. It's so overwhelming, but you're forced to deal with it. And it seemed like forever, but it was like 20 minutes before I started to pass out. I immediately lost muscle control of my eyeballs. So say if this one was straight, this one was at a 90-degree angle to the left. If this one was straight, this one was at a 90-degree angle to the right. So I was just like instantly cross-eyed, so completely disoriented. We only had like 1 bar of service to end. He was able to call like 911, but we were far enough from a major city that like a local ambulance had to come, which luckily they were only like 20 minutes away. And they drove us out to a field where I was life flighted to the hospital here in Missoula. When I first woke up after the accident in the hospital, I have a few like partial memories and then a few good solid ones, because I was, constantly on pain meds. When I finally came to a few days later, they told me I was going to be in the hospital for 3 months. Told me everything that was wrong with me, which was multiple body lacerations, a couple broken ribs, a deflated lung, which had a tube in it at the time, which was freaky, but it felt like I had like a javelin in the side of my body. I couldn't move my back at all. I looked hilarious. I looked so close to death, but I had no idea. Like it looked way worse than it actually felt. I mean, it was awful, but it's for the amount of painkillers that are on it, it looked way worse than I was actually feeling. It was a breeze. At the time, I had mixed feelings about my belayer. Not really trying to put the blame on him, because it was definitely both our faults. But really, I was thankful that he, attended to my injury quickly, and he was actually pre-med student, has some EMT training, so he knew how to stabilize me before the ambulance got there. So I was thankful that even though I didn't want to fall, it was awful. It was still, both of our faults, but at least he had some background knowledge on what to do in a situation like that. When they told me I was going to be in the hospital for 3 months, that was probably the worst part about it. I was like, I was getting used to my new environment at first, but once I heard that was like a few days later. Like, that is a long time. I'm getting out. I'm getting out of here. It's not gonna be 3 months. No way. I took my first steps, like assisted steps, like 6 days after the surgery. And then I was walking around with like a little walker, doing my little laps around the hospital, and then they let me leave 13 days after, or no, 11 days after. They gave me a clamshell brace and a few eye patches, and I was on my way. The rehabilitation process took a long time. It was actually just a lot of walking. I would get so sore so easily, like the simplest things I used to be able to do, even just like walking upstairs. You never think about it, it would never make you that tired, but it would just like knock me out and put so much stress on my back. The worst part about the accident, I still have to say, was my eyes. Like, they were crossed. Not being able to control your eyes is the worst thing, because you're just disoriented. So it actually lasted for 7 months. So even though like my body was starting to feel better, I could never see straight. One day, best day ever, I have a light directly above my bed. So when I'd wake up, this light would be crossed every day, and it would suck. But one day I just woke up and it wasn't crossed. And I start looking around and I can see straight again, and that was the best feeling. And then when I looked at myself in the mirror, I was overwhelmed with emotion. It was such a good feeling. You have no idea what it feels like when you look in the mirror and you can never see into both of your eyes at the same time, but to regain that, it felt great. I took my fall May 16th of last year, and then I felt better. Well, my body felt better by October. I was just basically a physically weak human being, but I actually felt like I could do most things. There were points in the hospital where I was like thinking maybe I'd never climb again, but as my body started to recuperate, I was curious to know if I'd still like it or I could do it again, and that curiosity got me back out there. Yeah, look at this round, I'm excited. Can't believe it was only a year ago. I mean, I've been healthy for the past few months, so any feelings of, feeling whole again, I've already felt it. I have a few goals right now. I've been sport climbing a ton just to get my strength back, but I really would like to tackle some bigger walls. I've already done a few 600-foot cliffs here in Montana, but I want to, at one point soon, travel to Yosemite or some other big wall somewhere in Wyoming, Colorado. There's a lot of neighboring states that have just huge walls, and I'd like to conquer a 2,000-foot one soon. Climbing's never easy. It can be if you choose really easy routes, but it's only fun if you're pushing yourself every time. Any advice I could give to other climbers to avoid accidents is, it can happen at any time. It's kind of embarrassing for me just because it was such a routine. It's such a routine route, and no pressure, really easy. It was just stupidity, us not communicating 100%. So just, always stay on top of it. You'll get tired at the end of the day. You don't think quite as fast, but always double and triple check and just maintain good communication, especially with someone you haven't climbed with before, regardless of how much experience you both have. Trust the rope. That thing will catch you. Climb some rocks.